here to talk about the most wonderful herb, which is called mullein. It likes to grow in your disturbed ground, so like the river, the roadsides, anywhere where it gets lots of sun, farmers' paddocks. Yeah, but it's wonderful because it's got so many different purposes. Many people don't realise that it's actually been used to treat tuberculosis years ago. And it's good for all respiratory illnesses. So that's why it's called the #1 respiratory treatment. So it's good for bronchitis, croup, colds, asthma, any of those types of things. People that have low oxygen and have to use oxygen tanks, people have actually been able to reverse that, which is pretty unbelievable. But it does take a bit of work. Also, people have made oils from the flowers and the leaves. Let's go out and do some foraging and we'll see if we can find some. So here we have the mullein and it's looking absolutely beautiful. It's really tall, look, taller than me. I know it's not too hard. So now we have some beautiful leaves. So we've got some young ones, so we'll just snap them off. So I'm just looking for the nice ones that don't have any holes and any bug marks. So they're quite pretty. So this is lovely and fluffy. So when I do foraging, I can use a paper bag because it means that what I put in there is not going to sweat, whereas if I took some plastic bags, all my leaves and flowers might sweat and so they're not quite so lovely. And also when I do foraging, I can put paper towel in the bottom. It just helps protect any of my little petals which I'm putting in here. So I'm wanting to keep them and I don't want them to be too damaged, so I can just pick these here. You have to sort of pinch them. It takes a wee while, but it's just lovely to be out in God's creation and taking in all these wonderful things that He's made for us. So we have the seeds here. So each little bud here contains about 700 seeds, I believe. So it's quite a lot. So this all goes black when the frosts have come and destroyed it. So remember that's biannual, so it's only going to live 2 years. So this is 2 years old. So once the frosts come, it'll be gone. But that's when all the goodness is going to come down into the roots. So around that time's when you want to harvest the roots. So notice how these are yellow and then just a little bit of orangey colour here. And if I do that, it doesn't fall off. But I'm going to show you a little trick down here. So we've got another mullein down here. Try not to fall down the bank. Right, this here is a curly mullein. So the leaves here, they are not fluffy. So there's kind of a bit of a difference. And these have all the little flowers coming up here that they're going to open, but see if it'll work. But if you go like this, if I touch it, a few seconds later the flowers is going to fall off, whereas you see it didn't work on that one. But it's pretty amazing. So this one here has pretty much almost the same benefits as your fluffy mallow. So as you can see, it's got little flowers falling off like popcorn. Oh yep, the petals just fell off. I hope you saw that. So you can see the difference. So this one has a red centre. So yeah, quite pretty. So this one here, people use the leaves and gargle them for a good throat remedy for sore throats. Right, we're back now. We have our lovely mullein. So we're going to see how we can turn this into this. And turn some of the roots in here into this. So we've got some leaves, which I'm just going to give them a wee wash. Don't take much, just to make sure there's no dust and debris and bugs on them. I have this lovely microfiber cloth here, generally used for doing dishes, but I find it really good for drying because it helps to absorb all the moisture away from the plants. that I'm trying to dry. And so I just lay them on here. Pretty easy. You don't have to use this. You can use an oven rack or some parchment paper or whatever you'd like. And so I also have my dried petals. So I picked these 24 hours ago, and so now they've had a chance to dry, because you do have to wait a wee while for them to dry so there's no moisture left in them, because if you have moisture in them when you put them into their jar with oil, you can get mold, so it's just not worth doing that. So just let them wilt. Don't look all that wonderful now, but trust me, they do work well. So I have my jar here, so I'm just gonna pop them in. Obviously the more petals you get, the more oil you'll have. So just gonna make an ear oil. Of course you can use this on your skin as well, so it will be fine. So I'm gonna put some garlic in just to add to the benefits of it. Just gonna chop this a wee bit. Don't have to be too fussy. Just gonna put in there. And now I've got my olive oil. You can use different kinds of oil if you wish, but this is the oil that I'm using. So I'm just going to cover it. So what I do is I just use a skewer just to punch it down, and just to make sure there's no air bubbles in there. I just want to cover it a wee bit more. Some people add to it daily, because when you're picking the mullein flowers, some people describe them as popcorn, so they come every now and then. So you can just keep adding more and then add some more oil. But what I do is I just make sure it's all nicely covered, and pop the lid on, and you pop it in a window where it gets some sun. Some people leave it for 2 weeks, some leave it for 2 months, so it's okay. You could use it after 2 weeks, because all the good stuff would have come into the oil. And so you can just drain it using a sieve and taking out all of the flowers. So you can also use the leaves, which we have here, particularly the flowers for ears. Pretty easy to make, so not too hard. So I think you should be able to do that one. So I also have some dried roots here, as we saw before. These are really good for pain relief, used in a tea. So I'll just show you really quickly. Now I have my scissors. So we've just got some of the roots here. You can use a knife. I just have a habit of using scissors because it cuts both sides and it's kind of a wee bit practical. So you can use all of the roots here. So we've got some pretty big ones. I won't actually chop too much, just for the sake of the demonstration. So just give them a really good rub and a wash. You might like to rinse them a few times in fresh water. So I'm just going to leave them here. Can chop them up a bit smaller. And here we have some dried leaves. So how do you know if they're dry? Some people might say, well, if you listen really carefully, it's real crunchy. So that's when you know it's dry. So these are some little leaves. You can use bigger leaves. Some people say that they're better when they're little, and some people say they're better when they're big. So I think they're stronger flavour when they're big, but sometimes when they're little they have more nutrients. So up to you, really no wrong way to do it. So when these are dry, also they need to be sort of crunchy before you would store them, because you do not want to have all this work and then find out they've gone mouldy because there's been stuck in a jar with no airflow. So make sure they're nice and dry. Just don't be hasty, just take your time, let them air dry. You don't need to use the oven or a dehydrator. It's fine just to do them in the open air, next to a window with some sunlight, whatever you choose. So I'm just going to show you also how to make a cup of tea. So I'm just going to pick some of these nice small leaves. Just going to rip them up. This is, yeah, it's probably quite generous amount. So it just depends on who's drinking it and what they can palate. So I'm just going to pour some boiling water over it. And I'm just going to leave this for a wee while. So you can just cover it with the saucer or do it in a teapot. You can also use one of these to put some leaves in, but you can't really seep it so well with the covering to keep it warm. And the best way to use the mullein is to leave it to seep for 15 minutes. And then you could add some lemon, you can add some peppermint or whatever else you'd like to use in your tea to make it more palatable. You can add some delicious honey. So with children, sometimes it's nice just to use a little bit of extra things just so that you know that they're gonna drink it. My kids don't mind it now, but there are some people that don't like tea and aren't fussed with these sort of things, so you really want to make it as nice as possible for them because it is just so incredibly good. So just smelling the leaves alone can be amazing. So you can rub it like this and then you can just smell it. It's got quite a lovely smell, but it's actually really good. So it's a great way to get some of the benefit. So I think we've about covered all of that. So I hope you get a chance to get out into God's wonderful pharmacy and take advantage of these wonderful things that are everywhere.